Superman.
Oh, really?
Zipper.
Okay, we just started the videotape with a very, you know, Rick, how we were talking about the opening lines to books. The beginning of this tape was Dad saying, "I'm not Superman." So, so that is a very,
Doggone it, that just completely shattered me.
Rick, what is the date today for posterity?
Today is Saturday, July 15th, 2006.
And we are en route to Louisville, Kentucky for little Samuel's second birthday party. And what's the approximate price of gas today?
About $3.
Almost $3
I thought it was just 2.8
a gallon. Although Mom thinks it's 2.89. But,
That's
okay,
what-
who would like to, I'm going to ask the same question of each of you. Who would like to answer first?
Ladies
Rick.
first.
Rick does.
No, Rick is not being asked the question. It's you and Dad.
Oh, no, your father's first.
No, ladies first.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask it and then somebody can jump in.
All right.
Well, let me just start with Mom. Okay, your first name is Joyce, obviously. Do you know why you were named Joyce or whom you were named after?
Well, I do know that my mother told me I have a godmother, Aunt Jo. Her name was Josephine. And when I was born, my mother liked her so much, my dad's sister, she was going to name me Josephine. And then she was going to name me Lois. But anyway.
Lois?
Yes.
How do you spell that?
With Joyce with an L.
Really? Is there such a name?
Uh-huh. Yeah, there is. I have a friend, a Greenwald, Lois Greenwald. Anyway, then she decided on Joyce instead. And then she asked my Aunt Jo to be my godmother. In fact, my Aunt Jo was the one that bought me my poetry book
Oh, that's neat.
that I just treasure it.
The one that has all the stuff stuffed in it?
Yes.
It's bursting at the seams?
Yes, she was.
How old were you when she gave that to you?
I believe that I was in the 7th grade.
Did you have an appreciation for poetry before that, or did that really kind of start it?
I know that really started me when I got that book. It had poetry in it, but it also has like the 10 Commandments and the Gettysburg Address, and I mean it sparked my interest.
That's neat.
I remember writing her a note telling her how much I treasure that book.
Mm-hmm. Did she
Even though
describe
Dick,
it?
you gave me a lot of books. No, she did not. Mother told me about her that she was very intelligent, and she thinks that she really wanted to be a school teacher, which is what my mother should have been. But in those days, women didn't get to fill their dreams.
These days, a lot of women don't either.
I know, they just.
Or a lot of people in general.
I know, they just sort of.
Well, who was your godfather if Joe was
and Joe's husband, my Uncle Howard.
Oh, he was your godfather?
Yes, he's my godfather. And she always sent me, always remembered my birthday all the time with either notes or small gifts. And,
This was Grandpa's sister, Joe?
yeah, Aunt Jo.
Is she older or younger than Grandpa Blim?
She's older. Was older. She's been, golly, she died, I think. Was it before him? Dick, why did I have Aunt Jo and Doris May at the house? Who had died? Had they came over? Oh, was it for Aunt Esther's funeral? Do you remember?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Isn't your name Dick?
Well, I can't hear with the road noise.
Oh. I should speak up.
Well, Dad, do you know why you were named Richard or whom you were named after?
Yes. Go on, Dick.
No, I don't think it was anybody in particular.
No, remember though why she decided on Richard? She was
Well,
going to name you Robert.
She was, yeah, and then I
That
think
was.
Bob Horn was born right before me, and they used the name Robert him, so they went to the next page, I guess or something.
Yes, your mom said she was in the hospital and had Bob the day before, and you both were going to go to St. Mary's, and you couldn't have a Bob Arndt and a Bob Arnold, so she named him Richard.
Wow.
That is why I was named Richard. It was just an alternative. But there's nobody else in my family by the name of Richard.
No, nobody else.
Well, we know why your middle name is Elmer, obviously,
Obviously.
because that was Grandpa's name. What about your middle name, Mom? Joyce Ann.
You know, I'm not sure about the Ann part. I don't know. I like it. That's why I named you Elisa
Yeah,
Ann.
I love my name, Elisa Ann.
That's what you told me. I do too. Well, you know who Elisa is from.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been your great grandmother.
Grandmother.
And
Eliza.
it was spelled Eliza.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought,
I much rather being Elisa than Eliza anyway, so.
well,
But this isn't about me.
Oh,
Well, actually, I thought everything was about me. But at this moment, it is not.
Mr. Turk always liked your name. He always told me you were so precocious.
What is your earliest memory?
I mean, from the time I was born, my first earliest memory of life here.
Well, no. I mean, what's one of your earliest memories?
Probably, I always tell this story though. I've told it many times. And I was probably at least, I don't know how old I was. It was Christmas and I got a little china set of dishes. And I broke the pitcher that we pour on. And my dad said, you know, not to worry about it. He would glue it and fix it and put it on our basement steps, which led down into an unfinished basement with a furnace that used to have to stock with coal. And I went down the next morning to see if it was dry, and I dropped it and broke it again. Just shattered it. But
So
anyway,
much for that.
My dad,
It was a tea set?
yeah, a little tea set. I just remember it. Oh, and I remember, this was when I was, this is really jiggling my memory. Way back then, they had cutout paper dolls, and instead of it being in a little book, my mother and dad, or I guess my mom, he's the one that thought about a lot of this, I loved paper dolls. And she got one paper doll out of cardboard, the same size as me.
Oh, wow.
And she put it in our room upstairs that I shared with my three other sisters. And she had it against a wall. And I remember it was just so wonderful for me because the paper doll clothes then were bigger. And I'd always choose what I was going to put on that paper doll before I went downstairs.
That's a riot. Well, like,
Yeah.
how did it stand up?
I don't remember. I remember that house. Well, you know, I took you by my house
Oh, yeah, in the trolley.
on this when I didn't know I lived in a duplex.
Mm-hmm.
And that just goes to show you, it doesn't matter where you live.
No.
My mother and dad provided so much. You know, we were so well cared for that. Anyway, I guess I always just thought that house was just wonderful. I didn't know it was even a duplex, to be truthful.
You didn't know you had very close neighbors?
Yes, because they used to come over to use our telephone.
That's a riot.
And, but yeah, I loved that house. I mean, I loved when we moved East Washington Street. The 10th Street was where we had there was no grass in one section, and we had our hopscotch thing there. I loved playing hopscotch. My mother was very strict with us. We weren't allowed off the street. We weren't allowed to go play with neighbors unless we were invited to their parties. She just always was very, very overly protective. But that's the house that I think I really learned to sing. Every Saturday night we turned on this. Dick, you think that would have been the hit parade back then? And we all sat around. We had a list of songs,
Yeah, probably.
and we'd sing all the songs about the war Paul was away in World War II, and we had the star hanging up in the window, and then when the alarm would go off, what did you call those drills? Air raids. We used to have to get under our desks at school, but at home, all the lights went out, and you had to pull the drapes, and it was kind of scary. Anyway, that's just, how did I get off on that subject?
I asked what your earliest memory was. What about you, Dad? What's your earliest memory?
Well, I was thinking about it when you were talking to your mother.
You have to talk.
I can't put it in chronological, or I don't think I remember anything when I was, let's say, less than 5 years old, but probably between 5 and 10, I got a lot of different things that I can think of.
What's one of
For instance, when I talk about the radio, I remember we only have one radio in our house, which was in the kitchen. Sometimes I'd listen to programs like, there was one I think, the Lone Ranger. And
the what?
The Lone Ranger.
Oh.
And we used to, they'd always have something you would send away for. Like you'd send in some box tops, or I think
Man, they started all that back then, huh?
Yeah, and you send it away, and you would get something in the mail, and you could send it off, and you'd be watching for the mail to come.
So what'd you mail away for?
It'd be like a little secret decoding thing that you would use during the radio shows. You know, they would talk about things. And then one thing we used to do, I'm sure your mother did this, was in our garage we would make colored sand.
Oh, wow.
And you would actually put together little types of glass jars and so on, and then you would make these, and you would actually trade them with neighbor kids.
How would you color the sand?
Use like Easter egg coloring.
Oh, like food coloring?
Food coloring. And then you'd actually, our form of commerce was buttons. So you'd use buttons you'd sell them for so many buttons. And kids up throughout the neighborhood would do that. I mean, that was just one way of.
Then what would you do if you got a big stockpile of buttons?
I'm not sure what you do. I don't think you can take them to the bank or anything.
Tell her about the alley, how you had all your friends and you played kickball.
Well, we used to play in the alley, play kickball and things like that. But when I was growing up, you'd spend most of your time outside. We used to have a vacant lot next to us, and I remember playing in that lot. And at the front of that lot, one thing I can remember was probably where you got some of this, Elisa, was I used to have a big dirt pile, and I would be digging out things for little trucks and cars and make little underground garages.
Well, Angela and her did that on Sherborne Drive. They dug.
That's neat.
At the time of the Green Hornet, when the Green Hornet program and serial was popular at the Rex Theater, he would have an underground garage where he would park his car.
So you were trying to replicate that?
Replicate that, yeah.
The Green Hornet?
Green Hornet. So really, a lot of this stuff was done in your own neighborhood, and when we were young, we would move around the neighborhood freely. You had a bicycle, you'd go just by a place you could reach within a certain time. And the big difference between then and now is that you hardly let kids out of your yard because you're concerned about their safety.
Right.
Whereas back then, kids would move around freely. I mean, the only concern you'd have maybe if they fell off their bike or had an accident or something. But as far as safety from other people, you wouldn't have any concern about that.
Right.
So those are some of my memories from back then.
That's good.
All right, Mom, what was the best advice that your parents gave you?
Advice?
What was the best advice?
I don't know about advice. Advice. Well, I know that my mother, I don't know if this would be advice though. I just know that my parents always instilled somehow, I had a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad were always really proud of me. And
you guys definitely perpetuated that.
I mean, mother, I remember when I was in junior high and I got to say that address.
Yeah.
Mother got me a new white dress, and she must have really been before her time. I remember I had gold shoes I wore out there.
We'll talk about your address a little bit.
Oh, my dress? My address of...
Yes.
No, I just wanted to say...
Flanders Fields.
Yeah, but when she...
For the purposes of this tape...
Yes.
Give the background about that whole...
Well, I just was chosen by...
What grade were you in?
They wanted somebody from junior high. I honestly can't remember if I was in the 7th or the 8th grade. But then this one teacher, my homeroom teacher, was an English teacher. And I just remember vividly that I had to stand out on the stairs of the... nobody was out there anymore. But
this was on Memorial Day?
Well,
or Veterans Day?
To teach me, she'd say, you have to project your voice, you had to...
But give the background what we're talking about.
We're talking about giving the in Flanders Field address for Memorial Day that was given out at the Walnut Hill Cemetery.
So you were selected from your class to give the address?
Yes, I was. And there was a young man there.
Got some problem with the tire or what?
Huh? What's wrong?
Oh, is that us?
We got a flat tire.
Car after our excitement on the road. Dad, can you describe for posterity what just happened?
Well, we started to hear an unusual noise. I thought it was road noise first. Sometimes the change in the highway causes you to hear different sounds, but this continued on. I moved around on the highway to see if it was me or the highway. Just kept hearing it. So as it got more pronounced, I decided I better get off to the right, and about that time the tire went, and I pulled over to the shoulder, the right shoulder, stopped.
Was it hard to keep it was kind of scary from the back seat. Was it hard to keep the tire under control? Or the car under control?
Well, it was rumbling, we were getting very rough.
Before I could see his hands moving, but I can't now.
Let the car kind of do its own thing. Just guided it over to the...
Well, and for the purposes of the recording here, I'll just reiterate that I think you did a commendable job reacting instinctively as you did, instead of slamming on the brakes, or I think we really could have easily gone out of control, so you did a commendable job keeping the vehicle under control and keeping us all safe. And it's also kind of scary when you're standing on the side of the road and you can feel the car shaking just from other cars driving by on the highway. So then we got everything out of the trunk and got the spare tire out, and then Mom, talk a little bit about who appeared behind us, almost as a
our guardian angel.
So who appeared behind us?
Our guardian angel, Sergeant Frank Gardner, Army recruiter, just appeared with a big smile and said, "I'm putting up cones. I'm here to help you." And he did everything for us.
And he even cut his hand.
He cut the palm of his hand, and he cut the tops of some of his fingers. There was blood kind of, not dripping, but
and
there
he
was
acted
blood.
like it was no big deal.
It's not a problem. Don't worry about it. I tried to compensate with some money, and he said, "Oh, please." No, I could never accept that. He said, "This is what we do." So I do believe in guardian angels. I do. I've just, I don't know. I think this is, usually I'm not speechless, but I'm speechless right now. Someone else is going to have to talk.
Well, Rick, what do you think? Were you afraid?
I wasn't afraid, you know. I think, as you said, Dad handled the situation very well, and we were certainly fortunate that this kind gentleman came behind us and offered to help change the tire, and we're lucky that he knew how to change the tire. And now we're back on the road and on the way to Sandra's birthday party. Of course, you think of this, Sandra's birthday, so nothing can go bad on Sandra's birthday.
There you go. Well, hopefully that was the extent of our excitement for this trip.
We hope so.
So beautiful. It is so beautiful over here. You can see the real light green trees and then some real dark green shrubs. I mean, you don't have to go very far from home to have something just be so. This is
Okay. Where would you love to travel to that you've never visited?
Oh, I visited so many places with your dad, with Optimus. Canada. Oh, I know where. Oh, that I've never been to.
Mm-hmm. Or I guess
I'd want to go. I've always said this. I wouldn't mind seeing the colors, but I really have the colors of the leaves at the end of on 37th Street. You know, when they're in the fall in the, like going to Vermont.
Do you think the end of 37th Street would compare to Vermont?
Yeah, that's what I say all the time. Why do I want to go to Vermont? This is it right here. It's at the end of Westbury. And of course I wanted to go back to New York, and we're going to be doing that. And we've been to Washington, D.C., but what did we learn again, Dick and Rick, at the Lincoln Memorial museum that we went to? What president's wife started she ordered the cherry blossoms from Japan. And they've been there every year since. Who was that president's wife? Well, tune in next time. What? I don't know. Anyway.
That was Taft.
It was Taft. And Rick is our family historian, so I'm sure that's correct.
Dad, what about you? What place would you like to travel to that you've never visited?
I'll tell you a lot of places.
I don't think there's any really places in particular. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a trip to Europe, to places where maybe I haven't seen yet. There's parts of Europe that I haven't seen. I guess that would be.
But you said before you don't want to go to China or
I don't have any real strong desire to go to the Far East.
It's just like Europe.
Seeing recently some of the shots from Russia, maybe Russia would be a place. Yeah, they've had some of the news coming from St. Petersburg because of the Bush going over there.
Right.
St. Petersburg, before it became St. Petersburg, was what? This is a test for anybody.
So that was good.
Very good, Rick. Okay, Mom.
So anyway, that would be, Europe, parts of Europe I haven't been to. I haven't been to Spain and Portugal and parts of Italy and Switzerland.
Have you been to the how do you pronounce it?
Galapagos.
Yeah.
The what?
Galapagos Islands?
I was in the Azores.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Okay, Mom, you
Yes.
are 72 years old.
No, I'm not.
You're not?
No. I'm going
You're
to
gonna
be.
be.
in
Okay, you're
November.
71 years
I
old.
was 71. You had me 71 for so long that when I finally became 71.
What do you mean I had you 71?
Everybody said, well, you're going to be 71, but they said it for a year.
Okay.
So when I was finally 71, I thought it was 72.
Oh, okay. Well, you're 71 years old.
Yes.
What's the best part of being your age now?
Oh, gosh. Well, you can pretty much say whatever you want to say.
You can always do that.
I know, but I always think, well, you know what? I'm just going to start saying and doing just what I pretty much like to do. And no, that isn't the only thing. I don't know. It makes you appreciate. I've always appreciated my family, my life, but it just makes you appreciate life, I think, more. All of our good fortune, all the good things that have happened to our family. I guess I just don't take it for granted anymore. When you're younger, you really do. So how about you, Mr. Arnold?
Okay, Dad. Now, you are 72 now.
Right.
What's the best part of being the age you are now?
Wait a minute. I don't...
I think it's, having more freedom to do things you want to do and not having as many responsibilities. And just a more relaxed lifestyle that you can enjoy. And like the mother said, enjoying the family and being able to participate and share with family more things.
You don't have to drive 6 kids to school and forget and take one to the wrong school.
Well, those seem like a lot of responsibility, but I always believed in the philosophy of enjoying the moment, and
Oh, that's
even
good.
though it was work or responsibility, I think I enjoyed those things.
That's actually very good, way to live your life, because if not, you end up wishing your life away.
Oh,
Well, what
yes.
bothers me are people that say, I can't retire. Maybe 10 years from retirement, I'm counting the days.
Right. Instead of just savoring
the days that are going by, you wonder about those people, if they have any value in those days that are going by. Because they're counting the days, and
Right.
a lot of them, when they reach retirement, they don't quite know what they want to do with it.
Exactly. It's very good.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
You've
Mom.
always been rather profound.
Yeah. What would you consider a perfect day?
Gosh. It sounds corny. A lot of my days seem perfect to me. I think that when I go to bed at night, I thought, wasn't this a great day? And I didn't do anything earth-shattering. I mean, I guess I just like my life and what I do. It's not maybe anything anybody else would find exciting. But like I told a guy in the neighborhood one day when I had the kids out, they were younger than in a stroller. He said, why do you want to take care of those kids? You already had your own kids. I said, I enjoy doing this. I said, why do you play golf every day?
Good for you.
And it was like, okay, see you later. But no, I think every day is what you make it. I mean, there's so much to be thankful for. I really mean it. When I wake up in the morning and I feel great, and we do a lot about what we want to do right now, don't we, Dick? And we just all my children, usually, maybe not always, but all of them call me on the phone, and all of them I'll get emails that make me laugh, or if it's something informative, and you especially bring me so many things on email, like now you've got that word of the day. Sometimes I'll read that, or I don't know what it is, but you'll send me pictures, and I just think that as busy as all of my children are, they still take time for me, which I don't like, because I think, you've got enough to do. Anyway, that's it. I think every day I have is perfect. I'll have another perfect day tomorrow.
What about?
I have a perfect day by the way, when I go out and Dad's trimming the grass and I sweep it all up and we're both all hot and sweaty and we'll say, wasn't that a great day? Okay.
What about you, Dad? What would you consider a perfect day?
Well, first off, I don't think there's anything. But
You don't think what?
there's anything that's perfect.
Right.
But a good day would be one that would follow the plan of the day, knowing that everybody that I care about, the family and otherwise, are able to accomplish what they're supposed to be doing, and that everybody has a good day, so that there aren't any problems or emergencies or anything like that. So, it's one of the things I wrote into the book that I gave to Samuel, because he's my godson.
Okay.
It's back there at the house, and I guess he'll open it today, and he won't, as your mother said, he won't understand it till he's probably 20 years old. The one message was basically enjoy the simple things of life. And,
That is great advice.
and that's really what I enjoy doing and try to do is enjoy those things. When you think about it, it's a lot of philosophy, but the people that have the most authority and power, the kings and the rulers and the presidents and the richest people in the world, Bill Gates, he basically has I have the same things that he has. But the sun in the morning and the moon at night and the stars and the fresh air and everything that goes on, I can enjoy all the same things they enjoy.
Right.
So
Yeah, you don't need to be a millionaire to.
nobody's stopped.
They do what?
So I guess basically the good day is having things go as you had hoped, and hoping it goes the same way for everybody around.
Well, I know it's probably kind of hard to say collectively, but Mom, and then why don't you both just kind of jump in on this one? But what qualities do you most admire in your children?
Not special.
No, they're thoughtful, kindness, the way all of them, I hope this is true, seem like all of them seem like you had when I say follow your dream, maybe it wasn't exactly to the what I want to say. Maybe like with all your careers, I'm so proud of all the careers you have. Maybe you would have liked to have done a little something different. But what I'm trying to say is, it seems like, in spite of your busy, hectic lives, I think you all, at least it seems to me, have chosen a path and followed it, and you found happiness. And you just can't ask for any more than that.
What do you think, Dad?
Well, there's a lot of qualities, but I guess if I had to zero in on one, probably would be loyalty to the family and to each other. So I think you hear about a lot of families have children that don't really get along that well with each other, and aren't really supportive of the family as a group. I think
All of our kids too, that they're not envious of each other, and there's something in that just gives me so much strength, because if one is injured or hurt, immediately the whole family gathers around, and it seems like it's so healing for me. I think all of you are so selfless. You don't think about, don't think about yourself first. I'm sorry, honey, go on.
Well, I was finished.
No, go on. Well, you were going to say something else?
No, I think I just, I said.
Okay.
Farley was the primary.
Over and out then. Okay, that was good.
Mom, what do you want to be most remembered for, 50 years from now?
50 years from now, I'd like to be remembered as being, somebody that was happy, and I know I get a little silly, but I'd like to be remembered as being happy and yet, and helpful. Maybe when I say it isn't all about me now, but I hope I've instilled things I used to say to the kids, like on Memorial Day, I'd remind them about what Memorial Day really is, or when you have Veterans Day. I always like to instill in the younger kids all the important things that we should be so grateful for. Don't take things for granted. And so, they might say, oh, I remember maybe something I said that cheered them up, or maybe I did something that helped them. But I guess if I just knew that all of my children knew how much I love them, that would be enough.
What about you, Dad? 50 years from now, or what do you want to be most remembered for?
Well,
You're
I
on
think
camera.
there's a saying about
Take two.
your children being your best legacy. I guess just being remembered as the father of my children. So each of them speaks for me through what they do and accomplish. So being known as their father would be probably what I would best be remembered.
Is that it, Mr. Arnold?
What's that?
Well, today is October the 1st, 2009, and I am at Carrington Place with my wonderful mother and her new short haircut from Reggie today. But this morning, Mom was shocked to open the Belleville newspaper and find that her second cousin, Doris May Schaefer, that the obituary was in the newspaper. And Mom, I always find it very confusing, although interesting, because you've shared so many stories over the years about all of your relatives, but for some reason, they always kind of sound like sitcom characters, and I'm never quite able to remember like who's on what side of the family. And you were starting to tell me this morning on my drive to work that Doris May, who I definitely heard you talk about so often over the years, that she was on Grandpa Blim's side of the family.
Correct.
If you could just kind of briefly talk about who her parents were and some of your favorite memories of her, I think it would be interesting.
I'll do it now.
Mm-hmm.
She, Doris May, who is now just Doris, but back then she was Doris May. She was so nice and so very talented on the piano. And then her brother Lynn always played the violin, and they used to always have duets.
Was it just the two of them?
With just the two of them, but then my brothers Merle and Paul would also join in and play their banjos. So it was to me it was always just delightful to hear all that music.
And was her mother Ma Blim? Was Doris?
Ma Blim was a mother to my dad and to and to why can't I think of her name?
Doris?
No, my god. Well, she was also my godmother.
Okay, so Ma Blim was not Doris's mother.
No, she was the mother of my dad and
okay.
what was her name? She was my godmother. Her and her husband. His name was. He was really strict, and he wasn't real congenial. But my
Dad left Paul Leffler.
No, it was the guy that.
See, I can't keep any of these people straight.
What it was Ma Blim. She kept her name. Ma Blim married Dad Leffler, but they used the separate names.
But that was not her first husband.
Oh, it was her fifth.
And she was never convicted of poisoning anyone?
No, but her first husband, I had Dad drive and find his grave at the cemetery. It was a real old grave, and we took pictures of it.
In the Belleville area?
Oh, no, it was down in...
Evansville or
Evansville.
Somewhere? Did you exhume the body to see if she had...
No, but I wanted to see it. I mean, I wanted to see... And there was a big plaque about him on there, about he was a kind...
That was Ma Blim's first husband.
He was a kind and devoted father and husband.
And was that Grandpa's father? The first one?
Yeah,
the first husband?
I guess it would have been.
Okay.
Yes.
So poor Grandpa Blim had like all these stepfathers?
Grandpa Blim. Oh, that's my dad, you know.
Right.
Yeah, well, in fact, then she married somebody younger.
So he had to have all these stepfathers. If she married all these other people.
But this all happened when they were all real young, and I could tell when I used to talk to him, he didn't even remember half of it. Mm-hmm. About these other people.
It's probably just as well.
And then she had another child. She had these daughters and these sons, you know. The sons were Daddy and Clem.
Okay.
But then this Uncle Harold was born. And then they had Aunt Esther and Aunt Joe.
Oh, I gotcha.
And Aunt Joe. And Aunt Joe and Uncle, her husband, were my godparents. And they were wonderful to me. I think they were she was the one that brought me my first poetry book.
Oh, well, we have her to thank.
But she was very, very nice. But thinking about Doris May, I can still picture her ever since I found out about her dying, which I cannot believe. We still exchange Christmas cards. She had the most beautiful handwriting.
You're going to need extra postage now.
Why? Huh?
That was a joke.
Oh.
I'm going to stop this and then start part 2. Okay, this is part 2 of the Grandpa Blim side of the family discussion regarding that really got instigated because of the death of which you were informed this morning of your cousin Doris May. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you were just talking about what are some like fond memories of you and Doris?
Well, it wasn't just me. Doris had this wonderful personality. And she was very friendly and outgoing. I'll have to show you some pictures. I think we've got pictures of her with Odd, and she'd have her arms around us. And she was just always one of these people. I like being with her. And that's when we started writing. I started sending her Christmas cards. So then she would send me Christmas cards back and write something. But I just found out that Jenny and Audrey no longer ever hear from her. And I thought that, because they were the ones that were kind of buddies.
Right.
So I don't know what happens. But I continued because she was one of these people that was just nice to know.
Well, this morning you were also telling me that you were the only one that was really had a good relationship with Dad Leffler.
Yes.
Why do you think that is? And were people just...
well, she had been married.
They were just resentful because he was husband number 5?
I think that a lot of them didn't like him for that reason, but he gave her a lot, almost all of his money.
Wow.
But I used to go down there on vacations. Vacations. You know, they lived not... Well, anyway, I used to go down there, and I used to get a kick out of him because back in those days, Ma Blim said, now, when Uncle Harold comes home, he'll want to take a hot bath in this tub. So we had to drag... She said, help me drag out these large buckets of water, and it sat in the sun all day.
Oh, wow.
So when Uncle Harold came home, we had to pour all that into the bathtub.
Okay.
Anyway, it was just one of those things that I thought was really kind of strange. But I liked Dad Leffler so much. He always called me Smiley. That was my nickname.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd go out in the garden and pull weeds together. And I don't know what it was.
Well, now we know how you got your love of poetry and your love of pulling weeds.
Yeah,
Both from Grandpa Bloom's side of the family.
But he was a nice guy, but a lot of people didn't like him. And when we'd go down there to have these big dinners at Ma Bloom's house, he'd always say, "Who will lunch with Dad?" That's what we called him, Dad Leffler. And I'd always say, "I will." And he'd say, "Well, come out in the kitchen." And he always fixed me the homemade bread that what's her name had made. What
Well,
was her
that's
name?
sure nice.
And then we'd always eat it with grape jelly.
Oh, that is really cool.
I can remember, I can taste it right now. But it's terrible, I don't take flowers out to their graves because
my gosh.
well, they don't have anything to put them in. And all they do is run over them then. And I said to Dick just the other day, I said I still almost wish I had done more for them when they were
Mother, you couldn't have done much more for anybody.
No, they were just so nice. But anyway,
Okay, well that was very interesting.
but they're not buried side by side.
Well, that's because are all of her husbands in a row?
One's here and then one's way. Well, most of them were buried in Evansville. Her husbands,
I see.
but I don't know. I liked him a lot, and I don't think people gave him very much credit. But I liked him. I always like people who. Why is it that people get it in for somebody? Like maybe, they don't know if they're deserving of this or that, and I just always liked him. Oh, he and his wife. Why can't I think of her name? Daddy's mother, for gosh sakes. Anyway, they always came to the picnic parades.
Oh, that's neat.
And they'd run out, and they always gave us some pennies in our hand. So I used to think, which was hard to hold as you
Well,
marched.
sure.
But I thought it was sweet that they always would stand there and wave, and then they'd.
Before I conclude this portion, is there anything else that you'd like to say about your memory of Doris or anything?
She was one of these people that was always very happy and smiling, and she would be complimentary about things. And I always liked when we went to Ma Bloom and Dad Leffler's house for these family gatherings, because Doris May always sat and played the piano, and then her brother would play the violin, and my brothers would play they played the banjos.
Mm-hmm.
And she just was always a lot of fun. She was just fun to be around.
Oh, that's neat.
But she married somebody that always seemed, after she got married, I thought she became more subdued.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband was real silly, real funny. I mean, I'll see him Saturday.
When you go to the visitation.
We're going to go to the visitation.